Looks like I'm about to have some fun. Righto everyone, today we have an angle grinder showdown. I have begged, borrowed and bought, and I have 4 angle grinders here, and we are going to put them through their paces today in this video. This video is a test of the top 5-inch angle grinders in each of these brands. Now if you're one of these guys that thinks you can't compare 2 tools with different voltages, well, you're going to hate this one. This is the new Makita XGT 40 volt 5-inch angle grinder. It is the GA005G. If you want to see how this does against the 18 volt Makita, take a look down in the description and up in the corner, because I've already done my full review on that and I put it up against the 18 volt. So go check that out if you want to see how it compares to the other Makitas. We have a brand new G3613DB HiKoki angle grinder. Still in the box, I haven't even had a look at it yet. The DeWalt 54 volt DCG414N. Finally, we have the Milwaukee 18 volt. This is sort of the standard I'm setting the rest against. It's red, so it's probably more powerful than all of them anyway, even though it's only 18 volt. So the new one is about to be released here, but it's not out yet. So I have borrowed this one, the M18 CAG125XPD. So those are our 4 torture victims for today. These are the 4 batteries I'm going to be using for this test. The Makita will be running a 40 volt max 2.5 amp hour. The HiKoki will be running a multi-volt 2.5 amp hour. These are both 36 volt batteries. The Milwaukee will be running an 18 volt 6 amp hour battery, and the DeWalt will also be running an 18 volt 6 amp hour battery, but because it's going to be plugged onto a 54 volt tool, it'll be running a 54 volt tool at 2 amp hours. Yes, they're all different. You can't get them the same. Get over it. In the States, this would be called a 60 volt flex volt battery. If you're thinking, poor old Milwaukee, this should be a high output battery, it's just not fair. Well, if you paid careful attention to the very first shots of this video, you may have seen the Milwaukee is going to get a boost later in the video. Let's have a quick look at some of the features of these things. I got these tools from Handy Hardware. This one I've had a bit longer. Handy Hardware in New Zealand, down in the description. Take a look at that. Good bunch of guys, great prices. And the Milwaukee I've borrowed from a friend, but it looks like it's had very little use, especially the guard looks actually brand new, as does the handle. Speaking of handles, here they are. I've put them in approximate order of how good they feel straight out of the box without using them. And it's also, by the looks, turned out to be the length as well. So the DeWalt and Makita don't seem to have as much vibration dampening as the Milwaukee and the HiKoki, and for some reason the HiKoki hasn't even got HiKoki written on it. So these two feel like they will be the best. They're the most complicated anyway compared to these two, but we'll see as we go along. 3 out of 4 of them come with a toolless guard. The only one that you may need a tool on from time to time is the HiKoki. 1 out of the 3 of them is a variable speed. The one that is a variable speed is the HiKoki. You can get the Makita in variable speed as well, but this was the first one that was released where I live, so this is the one I have. You can also get the Makita with AWS, which is the Bluetooth system to hook up to your vac. HiKoki are just in the process of releasing Bluetooth batteries so that you can turn any tool into something that will hook up with your vac, which is quite a cool idea. 3 out of 4 of the tools use one of these pin spanners for getting your wheels on and off, and one of them uses an Allen key, and I'm quite liking the idea of that. Just a little bit easier to find laying around. And that is the DeWalt. Conveniently, these 3 all take the same size spanner, which is very handy because you don't have to find the one appropriate to the tool. You can just grab any old one. But 95% of the time I just do these by hand, push the button in to lock it, and grab the disc and spin it around by hand. I usually only use these on 7 and 9 inch grinders, or if one of these has gotten really jammed on for some reason. The Makita appears to be the longest, the HiKoki the slimmest, and the DeWalt the fattest. The RPM ratings as given by the manufacturers are 8,500 RPM, 8,500 RPM, 9,000 RPM, and 3,000 to 9,500. Variable speed, remember. They all have removable fine mesh covers over the air intakes, which is good in a way. 3 of them just pop off. The DeWalt, you have to use a screwdriver to get it off. Problem I find with these is they can clog up really fast, making things sort of even worse. Yeah, it stops some of the dust, not much of it, but some of it from getting inside, but it also stops air from getting inside, because if you're cutting concrete and stuff, these just clog up super quick. And 3 of these tools have paddle switches or dead man switches, and the Makita has the switch on top that locks in place. You can of course get it with a paddle, but this was the first one out, and I actually prefer it with this style switch so that I can hold it on weird angles and stuff. Right, I think the time has come for me to go have some fun. Batteries are almost all fully charged. Let's compare these things. What do you do on your smoko breaks when you are on the job site? Well, today, not a bad spot. We are cutting 1/2 inch galvanized threaded rod. I have a brand new Makita fast cut blade disc in every grinder. So without further ado, Corten steel, 2.5mm thick, 40mm wide. Time for some stall tests, I think. Man, that takes a fair bit. After those tests, all the batteries are still showing full bars, which is good. That one's a bit hard to see, but it's definitely full. The owner of this property has asked if I could do a few little odd metal cutting jobs while I have all these angle grinders out, so that's quite good. I get to test them a bit more. So I'm going to cut a few things up for them for some art projects or something. Battery gauge test time again, and we are on 2 on the Milwaukee, and the Milwaukee's done the least. Makita's still on 4, probably done the second least. 1 bar down and 1 bar down. The DeWalt and the HiKoki, focus, have done the most work. I'll explain why later. And the Milwaukee's done the least. So I want to check the RPMs now, but I'm just charging all the batteries back up so they're all fully charged, ready to get the maximum output from these things. Speaking of maximum output, you will have seen I used this a few times. 50% more power. What a load of rubbish. And that's compared to the 9 amp hour. Compared to the 6 amp hour, it wasn't even close to 50% more. So I did not think the 12 amp hour was worth it. Certainly not for the price. This battery costs more than every single one of these 4-angle grinders. The weight though wasn't an issue I didn't find on the grinder. When you turn grinders on, the weight sort of vanishes a bit because the gyroscopic forces seem to, I don't know, makes them feel okay. And as for the Milwaukee grinder, I did quite a bit of grinding with this the other day, just straight out grinding. For an 18 volt grinder, this is a very good grinder. And I'm sure if this was an 18 volt grinder test, then this would probably win. And I'm sure there's tons of those already, of course, on YouTube. But we're testing the top ones in each brand. I know some of you will say this isn't the top one because it hasn't got the brake, and the one with the brake's maybe half an RPM faster or something. So when it comes to the top ones, this one just doesn't cut it. It is not in the same league as these 3. I'm sure everybody who uses these 3 will look forward to the red abuse down in the comment section. I've just realised we're on the wrong bench, aren't we? I started filming on a different bench. Well, once we've done the RPM test, we will move back over to the other bench and I will wrap this test up. I'm not going to do a concrete test because I might give the concrete cutting a miss. It's a little bit damp. DeWalt says 9,000 and it is 8,020. 1,000 RPM off. The HiKoki is also rated at 9,000. Let's see. 8,988. I'll call that 9,000. Makita official RPMs 8,500. 7,990. 500 short. Milwaukee official rating 8,500 with 6 amp hour battery. 7,160 it got up to. Not even close. And the Milwaukee with the 12 amp hour battery. 7,230. Tiny improvement. Tiny. So which one is best? Which one should you buy? Well, most of you are going to buy the one that's already the colour of the other tools you already have, which makes perfect sense. These are all good grinders. They're all going to do what you need to do. None of them are dungers. They're all good tools. But we kind of need to pick a winner, don't we? I don't know what the winner is. I have a suspicion. So I'm going to do a bit of a point system thing here, like some other websites do. It's going to be completely highly scientific. Here is the scoreboard at the back here. I am going to give 1 point for the winner of each category, which I'm just going to make up the categories as I go along pretty much based on the tests I've done and the features of the tools. If I think 2 tools are basically the same, then they'll each get a point. I may even take some points off for negative features. We'll see how it goes, and we'll just see how many lines are up on that bit of cardboard at the back there by the end of the video, and then we'll have a winner. Who's it going to be? Place your bets now. So the RPM test was probably the last thing you saw in this video before I started doing this wrap up, and that goes to HiKoki. That was the only grinder that was on the money numbers wise. The Makita about 500 behind and 1,000 or more for the DeWalt and the Milwaukee. Next up we will do price. Price is something I don't usually include in my videos because it's different everywhere in the world. I live in New Zealand. Half of the people watching this video live in the States. There's not much point in me telling you the prices. But if you want to know, in this part of the world, they're all pretty similar, but from what I found, the DeWalt was the dearest. So everybody but DeWalt will get a point. Which is the best for vibration? Well, that's a bit of a tricky one. And while I was doing all the tests, I was trying to take note of that, but because I was concentrating on so many other things, it was a bit hard. But I did do a vibration test off camera, just how I felt they were when grinding, and I think I'm going to pick HiKoki as the winner of that one. So it looks like HiKoki is taking an early lead. Can any of the other brands catch up? Find out after this message from our sponsors. Oh, haven't got a sponsor. Okay, then we'll just get on with it. The sort of comfort and size, getting into spaces, that sort of thing, I am giving to Milwaukee and HiKoki. The best switch? Well, I do kind of like the idea of the DeWalt one. I like the fact that it's kind of like a trigger, but there's just not enough room in here to get your hand in there properly, unless you've got two fingers up there, and it's still just a little bit awkward. It needs a bit more space in the handle department. I haven't got big mitts, but some guys must have trouble holding this. It's just not big enough as far as I'm concerned. Also, when the trigger's right down, you do have a bit of a Milwaukee impact driver situation going on here, where you have an extraordinarily sharp bit of plastic that just digs into your fingers if you haven't got your hand in the right place. So that's a real shame. I wanted that one to be the best because I like this part of it, but that bit there just stuffs it up in the space element. So, trigger wise, I am going with HiKoki and Milwaukee again. When it comes to the guards, the DeWalt and the Makita take that out, because you can adjust them by just pushing a lever on the side and they spin around right through 360 degrees, so that is great. So those two both do that. The Milwaukee, unfortunately, this here is plastic, which isn't great. Because the trigger is attached to the guard itself, you can't turn it right around because it crashes into the housing of the tool. And the HiKoki is even worse for the same thing, so DeWalt and Makita for that one. The best nut flange holdy on the disky thing is also the DeWalt. It has this sort of spring-loaded bit on the back, which means I was able to undo this tool every time with just turning this rather than even grabbing the disc. I think one time I might have grabbed the disc. So very cool, and it has that just a hex Allen key style situation. Whoop, if it is a bit too tight, which I like. I'm not sure if these last too well though. If you have problems with these, let me know down below. Looks like it could shit out quite easily. But that is my favourite, so another point for DeWalt. Batteries and battery life. That one is a little bit tricky. I think the Makita has definitely got the best affixment. It's the toughest, well stuck on battery, and I think it had probably the best battery life. It's a little hard to tell because they're all different amp hours and everything. So that's a great battery, but range wise, this brand of course has the most batteries, and these two are flex volt. They can be used on 36 and 18 volt and 54 and 18 volt. So it's hard to compare them all, so put a mark on the board depending on which one you like. I'll give them all a mark. Well, so far the Milwaukee is doing far better than I thought it would do, and Makita and DeWalt dragging behind a bit, HiKoki clearly out in front. But now we're getting to the meat and two veg of the test. Which ones were better in the actual use of the damn tool? Which ones cut the fastest, stalled the least, had the most power? Cutting the steel rod, the winner was HiKoki. Cutting the steel plate, the winner was DeWalt. Stall test, clear winner was HiKoki. Wood cutting test, the winner was HiKoki. When it came to the wood cutting test, I used one of these blades to cut through that 19mm pine. If you're interested in more information about one of these, I will put a link down below to another video I did, and a link so you can buy one if you wish. Now I pushed the tools pretty hard while I was doing that. I wanted to see if I could stall them. The HiKoki was the only one that didn't stall. These two were both pretty similar, and the Milwaukee with both batteries was not up to snuff, and you will have seen in the video that it overloaded that 6 amp hour battery. The concrete test. Oh, that's right, it's still in its packet. We'll forget about that one. Right, now to the bonus round. I am actually going to remove a point from the DeWalt. The DeWalt, when it got to about half-life battery, so 2 out of the 3 bars still showing, the speed changed. It dropped significantly. I'm not sure if I got it on camera. I was grinding away, took my finger off the trigger, pulled it again a few seconds later, and I noticed, hello, that sounds completely different. I let it sit for about 30 seconds, it went back up again, I let it go, slowed down again. It was losing power once it got to about half battery life. So the Makita will go right to the very end, and it's only the last few seconds before the battery completely stops that you start losing power significantly, that you would notice. So I'm going to take the point off DeWalt for that, and I'm going to give it to Makita. Now the HiKoki has the variable speed as standard. I think it's standard anyway. They've got two different 36 volt grinders, but this is sort of an update on the other one. So you buy the newest one, you get it with variable speed. These other ones don't have that as standard as such. So value for money wise, this one is also the best price, really, because you get more features than you do with the others. It also has an auto mode, which I used a few times, and I'll put a video up of that now, but I didn't really like it. Most of the time when using an angle grinder, I want it going full whack, 99% of the time. So, auto mode, yeah. But as for it coming with variable speed and making it the best value, it gets another point. So if we take a look at our leaderboard, I think we can see there's a clear winner. I wouldn't have picked it while I was using the tools that it would be that significantly different. While I've been using these tools, I found that these three were so similar. While you were cutting, you couldn't actually tell which one was going to be the quickest. They're very, very close, and HiKoki only just edged these out in the tests that we saw. But it does definitely have more power. It didn't stall in any of the stalling type situations I did. It's never stalled on me yet, whereas I can stall the other three. The DeWalt surprisingly stalls quite easy. I thought having a bit more voltage behind it, it might be a bit more powerful, but unfortunately not. It's still a nice grinder. I liked using it. When I've been doing things in the past few days, these are the two grinders I've been using. I'm not sure which one of these three I prefer using, but after looking at the numbers that I've just written on that bit of cardboard, well, maybe it's the HiKoki. It's a good size, it's comfortable, it has the power, good with vibration, good with weight, it's got a good battery system behind it. So in first place we have the HiKoki. And if you look at the board, we have Milwaukee and Makita next and DeWalt last. Now in reality I wouldn't really put it like that. The Milwaukee would be last because all those points that it got had nothing to do with the actual cutting power of the tool. They were all comfort and other things. So in reality, I would go HiKoki, and then it would probably be a toss-up between the Makita and the DeWalt for second. But let me know what you think of these tools down in the comment section. And recently we just passed the 20,000 sub mark, so thanks to all you guys who watch the videos every week. You're the guys that keep me making these videos, and thanks to all the new subscribers that have come along recently and helped push us over the 20,000 mark. It sort of snuck up on me while I was on holiday, and so I never got to do a 20,000 sub video like people do and have a giveaway or anything like that, but hey, we'll do it for 30,000, eh? Let's see how quick we can get to that one. If you want to see a video of all these four brands with impact drivers up against each other that has pretty much the exact reverse result of this video, have a look up there, down there, down in the description. There will be heaps of links, okay? I'll have links to buy these tools, to other reviews of these tools, to, I don't know, whatever I managed to find and stick in there. And if you think I should have put a 4 amp hour on the Makita to get a bit more power out of it to beat these other couple of tools here, well, take a look at the video up there and the video down there about the 2.5 amp hour versus the 4 amp hour battery, and you might be very surprised. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week with another review or comparison, or, well, we'll see what happens. And over on Builds and Stuff, there'll be a heap of 2-screw reviews coming up. Maybe I should do 2-screw review with angle grinders, cutting through 2 screws. Anyway, see ya.